So let's start with item number 1.
Sure.
So that was about the guy writing to Mr. Harris from prison.
Yes.
And he is looking for a job.
Yeah.
Yeah, when he gets out.
Yeah.
Yeah, when he gets out.
I thought it was strange that he didn't have a name at all.
None of them do.
Yeah.
I think.
Okay. Oh, I see.
Yeah, and he specifically said that his interest was in recreation. So if we decide to hire them, that's the area he will.
Yeah, I think he said that he wanted to work with kids, like, because he knows Angelina,
Yeah.
and that's kind of what she did beforehand.
Also, it sounds like he got a lot of help from like clergy through being in prison and stuff. He's gotten a lot of like people to kind of gather around him and help get his life back on track.
And it looks like he's been in charge of a lot too. Like he's been in charge of like basketball, baseball, swimming.
Yeah.
So he's like taking a lot of responsibility despite being, incarcerated.
But I feel like he only spent like 3.5 years, but he has like 6.5 years to go.
Well, I think they said he was up for parole.
Yeah,
so
so
parole is like where
it's gonna be like
he could get out early.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he sounds pretty confident that he's going to get out, and just judging based upon, what he wrote, which, I mean, you can't say that's the whole picture, but based upon what he wrote, it sounds like he probably will make parole. He seems confident
Yeah.
in that.
Okay.
I think the thing, it's also a PR thing because, he's going to work with kids, and armed robbery is a really serious sentence. So let's say we have like, a family come in and they have their kids on our program. You're like, oh, one of your like instructors is a former is a felon
Yes.
who
Wow.
served 3.5 years on a 10-year sentence for armed robbery. That would be a really big scandal.
But at the same time, we could take that and make it something where it's like, look where somebody started out, being an armed robber, and then from there, like how their life has gotten back on track. They served their time.
Yeah. Well, not everyone will take that positively.
That's
I think,
true.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think both the points are really like big. So I guess if we do really take him in, we really need to focus on the PR efforts that put into that
Yeah.
as well.
I also think it's important to point out that this whole company, I guess, is about helping people get back
Yep.
on track, I guess.
Kind of helping
So-
the underserved.
Yeah, exactly.
population,
So I feel like it says a lot about his character that he would even take the time to reach out, to do something to give back to the community.
It shows he's serious about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and also I think getting a parole is a big incentive, positive right there.
Mhm.
I think it's not the most easiest thing to get for a prisoner, especially also seeing his profile in terms of sports. I think a good intersection with him would be probably him perhaps serving a sports squash to kids. So yeah.
So what do you guys think?
Um,
Should we give him a shot or no?
I think he can apply for the job with
Apply.
others together just as a normal person.
yeah.
But we will give him the chance if he can pass the application and the interview.
sure.
Yeah.
So
and
allow
maybe
him to
start with a simple job position, and then maybe then he can move up to a better job position
Exactly.
in this program.
Yeah, I would also much prefer if his job encapsulated more of teamwork, where he's not the sole instructor, the sole person in authority, but pairing him up with some other people or forming a small committee where he contributes to a team effort.
Yeah, I think that
Yes.
would be good at first too, because
So sorry.
yeah, he's only been there for 3.5 years on a 10-year sentence, and yeah, he's gonna get out, but a lot of times when you've been incarcerated for X amount of time, going from that to the open free world, that's a huge change for
Sudden.
people. It's a really sudden change. There's a lot to adjust to. So yeah, I definitely think pairing him up with someone would be the right move.
So what I'm hearing is allow him to apply for the job.
Yep.
And then if through that hiring process we hire him, have him be on a team with somebody else so he can readjust to the working
Yeah.
environment and into the company culture. I guess.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah.
And also don't forget to go into the PR efforts that we're
Yeah.
lay out the plans that we need to take to really adjust the mindset of the people.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I think
Do we think we're settled on that?
I think so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay, so number
Move
2.
on.
This one was more so like kind of a thank you letter, I think, from a wholesale
Yes.
food company that was
Yeah.
saying, like, you know, we like working with you, and long story short, they were gonna give him a ham, I guess, for for him and his family to eat as kind of like a thank you for, you know, doing business with us, and we're glad to partner with, you know, a company or like a place that does good in the community. That's kind of what I took it as.
Yeah, I agree.
I feel like just writing a letter back to him saying like, oh, thank you for serving us so well.
Yes.
Definitely.
Like, I don't know if there's anything.
We could show up there and pick up the hand.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
Also, maybe trying to give him something in return or something like that,
Yeah.
because he did this just out of the kindness of his heart. He didn't really have any stake, like he didn't have to do it, and it sounds really personalized. Like it sounds like he didn't. This guy isn't just doing it for everybody. It sounds very specific because of the causes that our organization like works with. So I think that trying to do something, thinking and trying to come up with a good gift that we could give back to him, along with a letter would be
Yeah.
Yeah.
would be cool.
Do you have any ideas? But
No.
yeah,
I mean, this company is like, it's called Standard Wholesale Foods. So they're giving us food, so I'm trying to think of something that we could give to him. That
We
has
could
to
invite
do
him to
with-
dinner.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, we can invite him and his family to dinner, and we just is, you know, it's just us and our wife. That sounds really weird. It's just us and our wife, so like that's a big ham for just 2 people. That's a lot of ham.
Yeah.
Let's invite him and his family. Yeah.
So we can use the hand that he gave us to
and like get to really know like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Or we can have a nice little dinner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, we could have an idea of like using the ham to like feed, like say, the kids that come to the recreation
True.
center, and like, I
True.
mean, I don't know if it will be enough, like one ham.
But right, we got one. Those hams are pretty big.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
But I think like maybe trying to do something to make it a community event, because at the end of the day, it's what's this called, CDP or CDP.
CDP.
Yeah.
So it's like developing the community and building community connections. So I think that doing that, and then this way, this guy who works at the wholesale company would actually get to see firsthand like what we do on a daily basis.
Yeah, also like probably a good way to like, you know, reward him for his work is like by recommending him to like other organizations, similar organizations. I think
Yeah.
that's gonna like help him
Mhm.
in more than one ways.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. Okay. So right now we have like, we're going to write letter to him, right? And we're going to pick up the ham, and then with the options that we are going to do with ham, we need 2 options. So cook it, invite him to dinner,
Like a
or
personal dinner.
yeah, or
or-
having a event to serve like other kids in the area.
Mhm.
So I think maybe we can like discuss with him
What he likes.
what he would like.
Because he might just
as
want
well.
something more calm and just
Yeah.
like, you know, more personal, like, oh, just come over to my house and we'll cook the ham and have dinner.
Yeah.
Or he might want to do like an outreach event where, you know, like I said, like how
Yeah, so maybe we
everybody's
can
together.
discuss more what he thinks about these 2 ideas when we drop by and get the ham.
I'd definitely keep him involved in some way. Like if we were to do an outreach event, have him be one of the people serving the ham,
Mhm.
or
Yeah.
have him participate in some way, so then it's more meaningful to him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just for now, we're going to write a letter to him saying we're going to pick up the ham.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So,
Are we gonna write it? Or just because I think that's what,
We could write a thank you note, just deliver it in person.
yeah.
Oh yeah, that's
Mhm.
right.
Mhm.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And in the note, we'll say like, "Thank you for serving us. We plan on recommending you to other people."
Yes. We can make a Hallmark run here in like 30 minutes, just go out and get hard.
Alright, is everybody satisfied with number
Yeah.
2?
I'm just gonna write it
Okay, go ahead.
right now.
So we don't have his name, so I guess we'll just say, dear, or like to Standard Wholesale Foods.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we do have his name, Abe Strauss.
Oh, is that right?
Dear Abe.
Hey.
Oh, so that's the name.
Yeah.
Although
I
he
didn't-
addressed us as Dear Mr. Harris, so maybe we should say Dear Mr. Strauss.
Okay.
just so like we don't, you know.
Hey, Abe.
Yeah, because it kind of
Howdy, Strauss.
So we're just gonna say thank you for your kindness toward us.
Yeah,
Yeah. Like we
we're
really appreciated the service you've given us.
And your effort to probably like reaching out to us.
Yeah, and your effort for reaching out to us.
and then maybe a new like paragraph or whatever, and then saying we would love to come by and pick up the Virginia ham.
Maybe say like we'd love to have you for dinner,
Or like something like
or invite you to a
Mhm.
community event where your food is to show you how your food is helping the community.
Do you want to set a specific date or just
No, I think we should leave it to him as to like what.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah,
Okay,
we could
sure.
ask him at the
Do
end.
you mean like the date for
the event?
the
at
event
dinner?
or I was
We can leave it open ended.
Okay, yeah, sure.
We can time travel back to 1993.
Yeah.
okay.
And then say maybe say
We'll discuss more.
yeah, we'll discuss more in the future. And I
Cannot thank you enough for your
Yeah.
generosity.
Sure.
sincerely, Mr. Harris.
Okay.
Alright.
Okay, so now on to number 3.
Number 3.
I think number 3 is like a payment issue with one of our creditors where like there's long-standing due that needs to be cleared.
I guess that was a little, maybe one of you could like help clear this up, but so is this just a personal debt that this guy, that the Stanley guy, is this just something he personally like
Yeah.
accrued, or is this something relating to the business?
I think it's something that he personally accrued.
Okay.
Yeah, it sounds like they're just writing us on to just make us aware of their situation. Yeah.
It's like they're at their wits' end, like trying to get
Right,
their money
right.
somehow, so they're willing to resort to like having
Yeah.
to message us.
Mhm.
the
Yeah,
boss.
I think like also because like Mr. Stanley like further like credited his account, it's more like he's not taking any action and they like
Like, he
drop
doesn't
the
care.
letter. Yeah.
So, what do you guys think?
I definitely think that we should talk to him about it and bring it up, but at the same time, like I'm also about giving like employees their space, because I mean this is something personal and it doesn't necessarily directly affect the business or the CDP, but I can see both ways, like why we should and why we shouldn't. So I was wondering like what you guys think.
I think we have the responsibility as the employer to let our employee and our friend know that if he doesn't make this payment, he's going to get chased down by a collection agency. Because, you know, we don't want anything bad to happen to our employees, and we want to do everything in our power to make sure that they live the most fulfilling and like stable lives possible. And now we directly know that there's something that is going on in Mr. Stanley's life that could threaten that. And so we not only have the responsibility to let him know, but we could also do something to work out some kind of solution where he can make those payments, and we could find out why and see if there's anything that we could do to help, because you know, he's been here for a while and he's done good work for us.
Yeah.
So if there's anything that we could offer him,
Yeah.
we could try to work with him to figure out.
Just
something.
like building off of that, probably like forwarding this and in the email to him, and also like writing a couple of lines as to like if there's like an issue, you could like come over to my office and like
Yeah.
have a chat with me about it.
I kind of differ though. I think that we should maybe direct this to him in person.
Yeah,
I don't know, just
no, I agree,
because
yeah.
I feel like emailing could kind of you can't really get tonality from
Yeah.
it, and I think it's something so serious
Yeah.
that it really does need to be addressed in person.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think we should have a meeting with him, but if you guys look back, you're already open to the page,
Yeah.
of like the personnel,
Mhm.
he is kind of described as kind of being, what's a good word to say?
Oh, sorry to interrupt you there,
go ahead.
but it said that I can't remember if it was his first wife or his current wife, but her last name was Hampshire, and that's the town that they're from. And it said that she was just grown up in like she was brought up in like a super rich family, and she could have whatever she wanted. And it sounds like she's still like that today. So I'm wondering if this debt is maybe not from him, but in his name from his wife that wants to have this extravagant lifestyle.
Yeah, that could be
Or something like that. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, but as his like boss, I feel like we can't really.
Yeah, we can't make that call, but
Yeah.
I do feel like
yeah,
I feel like we
we should be
should
sympathetic.
We should be sympathetic. We should make him aware of what's happening.
yeah, and I think that's something that should be done in person too.
Yeah,
Because a
in a-
personal matter like this, that's something that we need person to person contact. We can't just do an impersonal like email.
Yeah, and when we look back the description of the Stanley, he was sure he would be appointed executive director.
Mhm.
So this thing might influence him, might not be able to appoint it to the executive director. So we have to let him be aware the seriousness of this issue.
Yeah, just like it might just take a toll on his like career, and also like probably as a prep we could like organize like some sort of a financial scheme that we could propose to him,
Yeah.
as to like how we could like work around these like debts that he currently owes. So
Yeah.
I think it might just be of help.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think we can, if we like meet him the next day, we can probably grab like coffee together and have that like casual, friendly talk. And
Yes.
so we just gotta set the picture that we're here for him if he has the problem that he cannot solve
Exactly.
alone.
Yeah, and I've heard like some of you guys talk about maybe trying to like set up a payment plan or something, but I feel like we really should get his input too, because
Yeah.
I know if this was me, I necessarily wouldn't want my job stepping maybe over their bounds. Like we want to make sure we're not overstepping our bounds and trying to like force him into like, oh, we got your back. Like, it's nice to have our employees back, but at the same time, we don't want to like act like this is our deal, because at the end of the day, he's the one who like spent the money, and so we want to make sure we're respectful.
I think we should give him the option of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
If he thinks that he is like let's say he is aware that he has this debt, but he's still just accumulating it just because maybe he's not good with money.
Mhm.
If we give him the option of having like some sort of plan where we take part of his salary out like every
Yeah.
month or whatever
Mhm.
until it's paid off, that might be what he needs.
Also, like I think like being prepared is a better option given the time crunch here. Like this letter's coming to us like on July 20th, and like they expect to like overturn his account on August 1st.
Yeah.
So
So we should have a meeting soon.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's very urgent.
It's a time sensitive matter. Yeah,
So I think that's
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
about it.
that covers that.
yeah.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about the fourth one, which was a letter coming from a Catholic mother,
Yeah.
I think, who was concerned about the like influence from the
The church.
Pentecostal. Yeah, on the like they had some staff there that were, I guess, trying to influence her daughter, and so she wrote us because she was concerned about that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think that's a problem personally.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think that our employees should be trying to influence
Mhm.
anybody about what religion that they
Yes.
should be following. I think that was out of line.
Mhm.
Especially to
Especially
children.
children,
Yeah.
Yes, children. So I think we should write a letter back to this person.
This mother,
This mother.
Catholic mother, yeah.
Explaining that
We're sorry.
we're sorry that happened and that we're thankful that she brought it to our attention, because without her we might not have known that that was happening.
Yeah.
What do you guys think we should do about those employees who were doing that?
Well, it's kind of the same situation as just like unauthorized like selling, or if we're having a recreation event, the expectation is that you can enjoy the event without having people come up in your face and like what religion are you? Or buy my wares. So I think that we definitely should, first have a meeting with those employees and let them know that, hey, that's not okay. And then I almost feel like if this is the first letter that we've been getting, and this is just one letter that we've gotten, has this been going on previously before? So I think we definitely should not only meet with the employees that have been doing that, but also investigate further and see if there's been previous instances of this before we issue like any sort of disciplinary action or anything.
Yeah. Well, what about the employees that we know were doing it?
I think that the only one that they knew is Miss Borden, right? Is she's the only one that directly engaged with the woman's daughter.
Yeah,
It
but
sounds like.
yeah,
But and then,
where should we stand though?
and that's kind of a hard situation to grapple with, just because like we don't want to go, hey, everybody that's Pentecostal, come to this room and we're gonna have a meeting and we're gonna lecture you on why you can't talk to them, because how do we know it's all of them?
I don't think it is at all.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just wondering. Sorry.
Oh, go for it.
I'm just wondering what, because I think some sort of action needs to take place. I just don't know the degree.
Yeah. This one might be, you know how you brought up the email on the other one? This one might be appropriate for just like an email, because just because it's only happened once, and maybe we should just kind of like
Monitor
wait,
it.
and see if it happens again. And also maybe explain this to the mother, like write her a letter back and say like, you know, like you said, we're sorry it happened, blah, blah, blah. And then also say like, we're sending out a letter to employees and let us know if this, you know, happens again, but we, you know, like saying we don't expect it to happen again, because it does kind of sound like it may have been offhanded, I'm not really sure.
Well, the other thing to think about is that this is the first time that we're being made aware of it. It's not necessarily the first time this has happened.
Yeah.
There may have been other unreported instances of this occurring by the same employee, maybe by different employees. I think definitely sending out the letter is a good idea, but then potentially like going back and then monitoring that and trying to see if this has been a one-time thing or if it's been a recurring pattern. I think that would also be very good, so that we can figure out how to best step forward and move on from this.
Is it possible like appoint a person or a group of people like to investigate this further?
Well,
It sounds like a lot of resources.
here's where what I'm thinking. I think it's important that we know it's happened before in the past, but I feel like we can't really do anything about it at this point. Like,
you can't change the past.
you can't change the past.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think that sending out like an email or a memo, or maybe mentioning it in like the next big meeting or something,
To everyone?
to tell them, hey, this is not what we're doing here. Like, don't do it again, because if you do it again, there will be disciplinary actions taken.
I think we could also warn or bring in Miss Borden personally, just have a one-to-one conversation. Like, hey, we know that you have done this, and we just want you to make sure that you know.
Yeah, maybe even not being, because that could, I guess, come off as accusatory. We know you've done this, because it's possible the daughter lied. I mean, she probably didn't.
Yeah.
But just going up and say like, maybe engaging with just Miss Borden,
And
just
seeing her son.
and asking her about
Is
things.
it Mr. Glassing as well?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
I think,
yeah,
like,
actually.
Yeah.
the idea of like sending a general email to everybody regarding like a situation's popped up, and like they would probably investigate it, like put everybody who's like been a party to it on guard. So like probably just like calling her in, and I'm sure like the church also has like a hierarchy of authority. So probably calling the in charge along with Mr. Borden and Miss Borden, and like probably like, you know, having like a sort of a check or a monitoring scheme going on in the church, along with like an email sent out to like every employee associated about like as a warning.
I feel like the email should be intentionally vague, if that makes sense. Like not saying Pentecostal or Catholic, you know,
Yeah.
just
Oh,
saying
no, yeah.
religious
Yeah.
in general.
Yeah.
I
Like,
agree.
or we could even say something like a situation came up in which an employee was sharing their religious beliefs. You know, we don't, not even we don't encourage this, but we don't allow that
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
I think we have to be really clear about the reasons why we don't let this happen in the email, and also for the enforcement for the scheme that we are going to like track for say in the future, if this happens again, I think we can have a place where employees and staff can come report if they
Hopefully we
witness
already
their,
have
like,
that.
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
they witness their like co-staff in one area, like doing that to the children, they can, if they don't have the courage to like approach that staff directly, they can report to us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that would be a function of the HR
Mhm.
department.
Yeah.
And we could potentially also, since it might not be clear to employees that that's not allowed, we could make it, reinforce it in the training programs when people are hired so that they come into the organization knowing the expectation.
Yeah, because we can add this one into the employee's handbook or the
Yeah.
guidelines,
Exactly.
and to explicitly like say something about like do not intervene people's religion, especially for
Exactly.
kids or something
Yeah.
like
And I
that.
think that
Yeah.
works well for new employees and even for like existing employees, probably
Yeah.
having like a seminar organized
Yeah.
for this like specific issue.
Yeah,
Okay.
because right now we are aware of this issue and we have to
Yeah.
add this one like into our official like handbook or something like that.
Yeah, and I could actually see how the Miss Glassing and
Mr.
Mr. Glassing and Miss Borden
Yeah.
think it could be okay, and that's because at the end of the day, this organization, the CDP, is a Christian organization. Like that's what they are. Like that's what
Is
it
it?
says. Yeah. So I can see where they think, oh, you know, it's a Christian organization, so I would feel comfortable saying that.
I
And
don't remember.
Yeah, I'm not
it
sure
mentions
about
that in one of these
I thought it was
letters.
just if it's federal government, it can't be.
Oh no, yeah, you're right. There was something about ask for our money in the name of a Christian charity. So I don't know what, but they may have like some sort of
I don't.
thing with religion. I'm not really sure.
I'm not sure about that either because it wasn't described in like the introduction.
Yeah, it wasn't in the
But
introduction.
then maybe that part in the article might come from the perspective that people see from having our staff like talking about religion as well.
Mhm.
So that may be like the wrong perception that the people got.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, no, that makes sense. Because I guess I forgot if it's federally funded that it can't be a Christian.
It might. This phrase could also like in the name of Christian charity. It might be like a phrase meaning like I don't know how to describe
I
it.
guess I can kind of, I see what you guys
You know
are
what I'm saying? I don't think
Yeah.
I don't think our organization is associated with any religion in particular.
Okay.
Okay. So
Because it would be totally different if
Yeah,
it was.
if it was like a
yeah.
religious.
But since it's just serving the greater community and it's federally funded, I don't think.
Right,
I
right.
see.
We're not even like legally allowed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
yeah, okay. So I'm going to write the letter
Okay.
to the mom.
Okay.
And here I've already started what you guys have said, which is like, oh, thank you, we have heard your concerns. And now I think the next thing in the next paragraph, we should list out the actions that we're going to take.
Yeah,
So
no,
we
exactly.
could sum up all the ideas that we have.
Okay.
Exactly.
So, we
We could just say we have, right? Or do we have to say we are going to?
we can say we're planning.
Yeah.
Like we're
We
planning.
will, or
Yeah.
Yeah.
We will meet with, or we will send. I
Well,
don't
we
know.
can assume that we can assume that when the letter's been delivered, we've already done
taken
these
it.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we could say we made all staff aware
Mhm.
that any kind of religious, blah blah blah, is not.
Mhm.
Mhm.
We
Yeah.
made the whole staff aware that discussing religion with
Not just
Our-
kids, but anybody. Yeah.
in our organization during events and
And like
whatnot.
strongly condemn any
Yeah.
sort of like
we will be monitoring this type of behavior
Mhm.
in the future.
Yeah.
You-
So should
Yeah.
we say we're going to first send out the emails? Second is to hold the meeting, I guess.
Well, I don't think we need to. put
Yeah,
that
you
on
don't
the
necessarily
letter.
need to list an order.
I think we just need
Just,
to.
like, say
Yeah.
what's gonna be done.
Just
Yeah.
reassure the mother, I think, is like the first thing, because we want to tell her, like, let her know we take it seriously, like, we're paying attention, like, we're not just like, oh, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Just
and like also
basically.
without being like really specific, just tell her that we like keep her updated as to like what actions and like
Okay.
procedures we're
That's a good
taking
way
forward.
to close it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll
And then-
keep you updated then.
Mhm.
And then please let us know if this occurs again.
Mhm.
And we thank you for
Bringing it to our notice.
Yes.
Bring it to our attention.
bringing it to our attention and being a part of our community events. Please keep coming.
Yes.
Yeah, please make sure, you know,
Yeah.
We
we hope your daughter or something like that.
we hope your daughter and yourself continue to participate in our community club.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was a really choppy letter.
Yeah. We're good though, we got you, Justin.
Yeah.
Okay, so for this next one, number 5, this was back in '93, so I guess it's like a log of a call or something like that.
Yes.
And then
Yeah.
with a voice, so called by Dan Thompson, who's the chief of police. But then it says you were visited by, so I'm.
That, like, you were called by him. You were, like,
Oh,
those are
visited-
two.
oh,
yeah.
Sorry to write in your book.
No, it's fine. No, okay, I see. So it'd be like if someone were to visit, then they would write it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Right.
Anyway,
He left the message.
the message was about there was some kids, I guess, that are like selling marijuana, and so they want to try to plant young detectives in with the kids
Oh, I see.
to try to see
Yeah.
if they can catch them. We also have to maybe try to think of this because we have kind of like our late 2010 minds on this issue, and you got to think of what would they do in '93, or they should be.
They go to jail.
It should at least be a part of like what we discuss is, because we look at it now where it's like legal for people over 21 at
Yeah.
least.
But it's also, like, community events.
Yeah.
So I don't even know, even if it, like, I don't feel like, even
And
today
it's also
it would
like
be
kids, it's not just like
allowable.
teenagers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically there's kind of like 2 roads to go down or to address this, and then like different branches from there. But like, should we do something and like cooperate, I guess, or not even cooperate, but just like join the police in trying to do this, or say, okay, this is good, or should we say, no, we don't agree with this? I guess those are our 2
I don't
options.
morally agree with using children in an investigation,
Yeah.
Mm.
like as detectives. I feel like that just feels wrong.
I guess I feel like they'd be over 18 but look like maybe around 16 or something
I
like
was
that.
supposed to catch a predator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think we can cooperate and help them in this matter, but not. It doesn't have to be like having our
secret
children
agents.
as agents.
No, I just
Yeah.
feel like it's imperative that it's like really private, because like if this matter like comes out in the public domain, it's gonna like probably like run the credibility of our organization.
Yeah.
That parents would not be most comfortable with like
Yeah.
their children being a
Yeah.
part of like activities that are organized at the center.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that he says like he thinks that there are like drug
I see.
dealers hanging around the shop. We probably have more resources available to us, like security footage, witnesses. Like, there's a lot of things that we can do on our end before we resort to using
Yeah.
kid detectives.
Yeah, that's true. But then at the same time, we got to think like we are not the largest organization, and like we have limited funding through the government and stuff. So can we really afford to dedicate all these resources to combing through security footage and stuff like that? I mean, because the police is obviously gonna do it for free because they have an incentive from it that they'll be able to take them, not like take kids into jail, but like get them and talk to them about that. And actually, it could be a thing that ends up helping the community if they get the kids and try to set them right with their parents and like let their parents be aware of what's happening so that they can help hopefully steer them on the right path.
Yeah, I think from a business standpoint, we should do something about it. I don't know if sending in kid detectives should be our first action. I think we should cooperate with the police, let them use their own funds.
Yeah.
But I don't know how much room we have to say, like, we want you to fix this, but not like this, you
I
know?
think like the idea of like probably establishing a joint committee where like the in the sense that like they could like like a pre-approval of all the actions or the trajectory that they're gonna follow.
I think that might be a little over involved. I think what we could do on our end is we could just take the last 6 months of security footage and hand that over to the police, and it's like, okay, here's our past 6 months of our security footage, and you can use this to find like concrete proof if they are dealing marijuana or not.
Exactly.
And then on our end, we could also get like names and like faces of like who they think the suspects might be. And when those guys come into our facility next, we can go ahead and
Watch
ask.
them.
Yeah, we can watch them and we
confront
can
them.
ask them.
Okay.
Also, I mean, it might be a good idea to maybe, since they're letting us, or they're making us aware that they think that kids are doing that, hanging around, we could send like a general letter out to parents, just so maybe parents were more conscious of what was going on. I mean, we're not going to say we know people are doing this, but we could say something like, it has came to our attention that there may be kids.
I'm
doing
just
that.
worried of doing that, especially like if we are transporting back to 1993, that if parents received that letter, they would never let their kids do anything with our company.
I think
Yeah.
we can send the letter, but we can keep it internal towards like our staff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, rather than send it out to the
Yeah.
patrons and everyone else who comes,
Mhm.
just send it out to our employees. Like, hey, if
Yeah.
you see this going on, dial this number or email this person, and make sure you like document who it
That's
was.
a good idea.
I think also like there's some like ambiguity with the issue right now, because like it's not like for certain that like
Yeah.
an activity like this is taking place.
Mhm.
We do not even know whether it was like it is like a recurring thing or like a one-time thing that like
Yeah.
happened. So like unless like we're certain of what's really the
Yeah.
situation.
I agree that it's still
Yeah.
like very vague, and we only have like 4
Exactly.
lines. So
Yeah,
but
maybe
also-
the first thing that we should do is like reach out to him again
Call back.
and call
Yeah.
back and talk more to see
Mhm.
what really
Yeah.
happens.
Exactly,
Meet with
yeah.
him. Yeah.
At the same time, though, I think Taylor kind of touched on this a little bit. Like, how much authority do we really have? Because this is the police. If they suspect something, they can do something. And I mean, they can't like come on our property. But like, if they want to try to set, yeah. But if they want to try to like set a trap for like having detectives among kids, like as long as they could do it if they wanted.
They
So
could.
how much room do we actually have to say no? We don't want this, and that actually might make us look worse if we're like, oh no, we don't want people finding out, or something like that.
But on the same like wavelength here, we have a certain amount of power to just like suggest like, no, this would be bad for our like philosophy and mission and everything that we do. It goes against like if you're trying to put like kid detectives in here, that
Mhm.
goes against our personal like moral standards, and we would recommend that we don't. But we can suggest that they take this course of action instead.
Yeah.
I feel like it's still important though to work with the police in some ways, because that does promote good community outreach, is
Yeah.
what we're all about.
I think. Sorry, go ahead.
No,
You
no,
go.
no.
You go.
Yeah, I have an idea. Is that to cooperate
Mhm.
more and prevent this from happening again in the future? Maybe we can incorporate this matter in some like educational classes or programs that we are going to have this to inform them the harm that marijuana can give to the children, so the children themselves would not like join this cause. Yeah.
Yeah, that's an idea.
Yeah.
I kind of like that. I feel like that should be part of things as it is, just because, I mean, it's kind of like irrefutable that smoking in general is bad for you no matter what you're smoking. So I feel like we could still tell them the dangers of that.
Educate them.
It's just
Yeah.
like the issue with that is it's a lengthier process. Like if something like this is happening, it needs more of like an immediate addressal than like building like.
But on the long term,
Yeah.
though, on the long term, I feel like if we don't already incorporate that,
Yeah.
to do so. But yeah.
What were you saying?
I was just gonna say that I think we should work with the police, give them like however much security footage we have, see if they can figure out or solve the case through those means, and if they can't, we can have another conversation with them in
Yeah.
the future.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess we can move on.
So the action that we're going to take is to
Call back first.
Yeah, call back.
Meet with the person who called, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Thompson. Okay.
And we're going to propose them that
Yeah. Our
not to
suggestions, yeah.
do this idea, but actually consider other ideas that we have. So having the education program, advocacy, or giving the footages, right?
Okay.
And he does seem adamant about this, though. I noticed here it says, "Please call. We'll call again."
Yeah.
Like saying it's
And
almost very
waiting
urgent.
to see you, which is an appointment.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Huh. So yeah, I feel like they're putting a lot of energy into this, like
Yes.
as if it's a really big deal, which I mean it is.
Or is, I'm wondering if those are like kind of like you were visited by. I'm wondering if those are like things that she could like circle, you know?
Yeah, I was thinking.
I think
that.
I think those are like
Yeah.
wishes to have like he wants an appointment.
I see. Oh gosh.
I don't think those are all
I've
the
never
things.
seen this form before.
Me neither. I'm just
Yeah,
assuming.
U.S. government printing office. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know, but we can move on.
So yeah, I think we have a good plan. Okay, next one.
Yeah.
This one seems very informal.
So this Harold wants to sell us his old exercise equipment. We could use it, but from what I read, it seems like he is kind of difficult to work with from the line that says, "I don't know if you want to deal with Turkmen, of course."
Yeah.
Like second class sentence.
Yeah.
That kind of like for me that kind of indicates that he might be difficult to work with in
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
way. But I don't know if we should let that deter us from like getting resources.
Yeah, 'cause
you
Also,
know?
it's just like there's also the need for like the stuff that he's gonna give us, in the sense that like Miss Jackson wants to probably like have a couple of things for the Slim Gym class. So like it's like we know where we could utilize those resources.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's not just a random thing that we really
That
don't
we'll
need.
put it in a
Yeah.
storage unit.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I do think that he's just donating it to us, but he wants a tax. I don't think he's
Oh,
selling it. So I think
okay.
he's giving it for free, but he wants to get like a tax write-off, which I'm not familiar with that or anything. So I'm assuming that we can do that. Like, give the guy a tax write-off. Is that why
What
you?
is a tax
It's
write-off?
like when you donate to charity, you can. I don't know
Like,
exactly.
So me, like in my mind, I think it's like you either like donate the tax, or you like pay the tax to the government, or like donate a part of that tax to an organization.
Oh.
So it's either or that he loses this, like a certain amount.
It deducts how much you owe in
Okay.
taxes.
Yeah.
Basically,
Yeah.
the more you donate, you save in taxes.
Yeah.
So it's an
Okay.
incentive to give
To
stuff.
give, yeah.
Like even if, say, I were to take something and give it to the Goodwill, you can get a little sheet with like a tax write-off, so you can help save on your taxes.
Oh, okay.
So yeah,
It's like a donation in kind for like saving money.
Okay.
yeah, yeah,
I think we should do it.
yeah.
I don't know.
I don't see any issue other than yeah.
I can't tell how difficult he would be to work with, but I feel like if we already have some use for it, and it's a donation, I don't see why we
And
wouldn't.
even if he's like a difficult individual in my mind, it's a one-way street here. It's not an exchange.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
like he's expecting something in return for something. So
Yeah. The one thing that we should check is that all the equipment works properly,
Yeah.
and that nothing's like in super bad condition or whatever. Because then if we use that equipment and that affects like our branding really.
I feel like it's promising too because it came from a spa and gym that just closed down. She said that folded a few months ago, so I think that means it just went out of business. So it sounds like it was being used in a gym that like that people pay for. So it's probably like fingers crossed going to be good equipment, stuff that is.
We'll
good
still
quality.
check it,
Yeah.
but I don't see why we
Exactly.
wouldn't.
Yeah. This one seems pretty straightforward.
Maybe we can talk to Angelina more about why she mentioned that sentence. specifically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be like,
Yeah,
"This is
so
something."
really
It sounds like something that has like
As precedent behind it.
But
Yeah.
are we gonna give the stuff the Jackson needs, or
The what?
Marion Jackson,
Whatever.
or
Maybe we can
other
give it to
than
her.
Okay.
Well, it says here that we have like 2 uses for it. Like
Yeah.
you could go to the grade school or to
the Slim Gym class.
or the Slim Gym class.
Okay.
I don't see why we couldn't give a little bit to both, or like whoever needs it more. I don't know. We could figure that out later, depending on what
Okay.
equipment he has.
Exactly.
Isn't Slim Jim like that? Like,
That's
throw
what I
the stick.
thought.
It works.
So I guess we're not replying the letter. 'Cause as Angelina, we can reach out to her.
Yeah, we can.
Maybe.
Just call.
We can leave her a memo. Do you want to write her a memo really fast?
Yeah, we can write her.
Yeah, let's write a memo. To Angelina. Or Angel. I think she goes by Angel.
We could just say, we would love to take the equipment off of his hands.
Granted, we check it to
Yeah,
make
yeah.
sure.
Granted, it's all in working order. We would love to take the equipment off his hands. Granted, it's all in working order. We will see how to split it up.
Yeah, we'll decide how to
Yeah.
distribute the
Yeah.
equipment
On-
once we
at a later date.
at a later date. Yeah.
But we were prepared to work with Mr.
Turkman.
Turkman, yes. In any issues that may come up.
Is everyone happy with that?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then just thank you, Mr. Harris.
And make sure they're walking appropriately.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They're working.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
Perfect. Okay.
I think that's it.
And